Okay, we are going to go through whole life insurance designed for maximum cash value and objections we often hear around it, or objections you may have heard around it. We're going to begin with the whole life insurance mystery. Have you ever heard that big banks, corporations, wealthy individuals put away a ton of money into cash value life insurance? Because it's true, they do. But then maybe you're shown a policy or someone else tells you, hey, whole life insurance is the worst area to put your money. There's like these two opposite ends of the spectrum. We hear the 1% doing it, but then we hear everyone else tell us, stay away from it. It's fake, it's garbage, it's different what they have compared to what you can get. Like, what's the difference? What's going on here? We're gonna break down exactly what it is. And by the way, what the ultra wealthy can obtain through whole life insurance policies, high cash value policies, anyone can obtain. So to jump into it, if one's goal is to maximize the cash value on a life insurance policy, here's the key in gold, all in the design. When I pay any amount of money into a whole life insurance policy, I, the policyholder, can choose how much of my dollar goes toward the insurance premium. The insurance premium first buys me life insurance. Nothing shows up in cash value, typically the first and second year, and then eventually it begins to build cash value. If you've ever seen or been presented a basic old school whole life insurance policy, you likely saw next to nothing in cash value in the first and second year. Took over 10 years just to break even, get your money back, and it looked not that great over time. It looked great from a life insurance perspective, but the cash value, you probably didn't do it. But then I can pay money directly into this PUA. That stands for paid up additions. If I pay money toward this rider, what happens is it immediately shows up in cash value. I can access it immediately. This is the key to accelerating the cash value, but more importantly, it is the key to mimicking as closely as possible what these big banks, corporations, and wealthy individuals do. So again, looking at corporations and wealthy individuals, their goal is to set policies up for maximum cash value from day one throughout the life of the policy. But then as an individual, we're told, hey, you don't want to go that route because it won't work out, or things are done differently, or we're not told any reason, we're just shown something different from what the wealthy are proposed. Let's go through an example here actually, because I do like to show numbers in examples like this rather than just talk about it. So here we have a policy on a 40-year-old male. This, by the way, is the same policy with the same company, same health rating, everything pulled directly from the software, apples to apples comparison. The only difference here is of this $100,000 per year payment for 10 years, total of $1 million into the policy, we are redirecting where his money is going. So toward those two areas, the premium or that PUA piece, that's where my money can go. The example on the left, we have 100% of the payment directed toward the premium, $100,000. What's my cash value look like right off the bat? $3,300, not attractive at all. Year two, I pay in $100,000. That comes back to work for me and builds over time. But as I look at it year by year, when it's highlighted in yellow, this represents the break-even point, meaning I've paid $1 million in over 10 years. And by year 11, I've got more than $1 million. That's a long time to get my money back. Often, people look at this when they, again, are looking at whole life insurance policies and they're interested in it for maximum cash value. That's why they buy it. They see this and they think, okay, what am I missing? Like, why would I do this? Because there's so much more I can do with my money in the meantime, as opposed to waiting 10 years just to get it back. And granted, if I set it up properly, the cash value is a safe, liquid, tax-free area to position money. Safety, meaning it's not tied to or invested in the market at all. Liquid, I can access it anytime I want. And the tax-free benefit is huge, especially as time passes. But if I've got to wait 10 years to get my money back, not so much, because as a business owner, I can do a lot more with my money in the meantime. But then I've got the same policy here, designed differently, So $100,000 going in. Here, we've got 10%, which is about as low as we could drive it in this example, directed toward the premium piece. The rest into that PUA piece, which does what? Maximizes my cash value from day one. My break-even point is now between years 3 and 4. So this is an individual that, again, was interested in high cash value. That is what he wanted. So what we're doing is showing, okay, here's a traditional policy, which there's no way we're setting that up, especially if his goal is maximum cash value. But then here's how we optimize the cash value. We squeeze the premium down as low as possible. That's what he wanted. Maximum cash value. Look at the difference by year 4. You have $111,000 more in cash value with option B compared to option A. And they're both the same insurance company. Now, we've got another column here that I put here deliberately. Look at the compensation. Option A, $85,000 paid to the agent. Option B, total of $11,500. We're going to get into commissions more in a follow-up video as we progress through different objections that often pop up, but this tells us a lot right here. Now, what I want to add just briefly in respect to commissions is I have zero issue at all with an agent or anyone being compensated for putting a policy in force. This is how the industry makes it. This is how agents make a living. I have no problem whatsoever with an agent earning a commission. What I do have an issue with is a consumer wanting a policy for maximum cash value, but the agent selling him one that does not entail a maximum cash value design. Meaning if you came to me saying, hey, I want a policy designed for maximum cash value, and I want to see the different options. If I buy a policy through you and then find out after the fact I could have got one designed with more cash value after the fact, I'm going to be upset. You ever felt like that? I know a lot of people do. But if I don't show you this, maybe I show you one in between that it looks better than that, but I still make $30K off the bat to try and get a little bit more, like you can't do that stuff. Unless you choose it as the consumer by showing the different in-between options as well. If maximum cash value is someone's goal, really what should be shown is a maximum cash value policy. Show multiple options. This way the consumer, if you're the consumer, you can pick the one that fits best for you. But back to the analysis here. So we see the difference in compensation over 10 years. It's quite significant, but look at the difference in cash value as time passes. If I go till age 80, long term, look at the difference there. And this is the same company, same dividend assumption all the way through, just in the policy design. That's it. So the design really does make all the difference when we look at cash value life insurance policies. Now, to touch on high net worth individuals, banks, and corporations, very quickly, we've got other content, other videos on this. Here is a sample of a policy on a high net worth individual, 2 samples actually. Option A, $1 million right off the bat, 97% in cash value. Option B, 95% in cash value, early break-even point. Similar to the 100K example. So what we took was $100,000 per year going in, which anyone can obtain, and mimic as closely as possible what that high net worth individual obtained. What I'll add is when you get to a level, if you're paying in 7 figures or more, different products do open up that have very, very high minimum premium commitments that look like what we just saw here. Maximum cash value up front, early break-even point. A lot of times corporations will use this as an asset on their balance sheet, very cash rich from day one. And then we hear about banks putting money here all the time. They do. This was actually a bank-owned life insurance policy we put in force last month. $10 million deposit, $10.2 million in cash value right off the bat. Now I'll add very, very briefly is what banks can obtain, individuals cannot obtain. Different animal in itself. It is offered exclusively to banks. But with that said, we can design a whole life insurance policy as closely as possible to what banks can obtain. So, different examples here, right? We see a traditional policy, which a lot of times people see and just go, oh, like that's what the banks and corporations do? No, it's the opposite that we showed you, that maximum cash value right off the bat. So when it comes to high cash value life insurance policies, if you're considering one, but then we hear or see this, a higher base premium with less cash value up front, and we think, okay, why? Well, objections you may have heard around it are as follows. If you go with a minimum premium policy, which is what corporations and wealthy individuals do, you might run into a mech at some point in time. Another thing we hear is the dividend treatment. It is different on policies with a higher base premium. Specifically, what I mean when I say that is if I take less cash value up front, I might have more money long term. That's an objection we sometimes hear. Term riders can be expensive. Company selection comes into play. You want to go with a small or medium-sized company. I'm like, no, copy the big players. There's really 4 major mutual companies that have always delivered. We'll get into that. Other objections as well. What I don't hear that much, this is interesting, is the objection on compensation. When you look at those policies designed for high cash value, no matter how you slice it, the higher the cash value, the lesser the compensation. Like that's it. And we're going to go through case studies here. We're going to look at actual policies that have lived the test of time, what was projected, but then what actually happened. This way we can see some actual data. So we're going to actually break this down, how compensation plays a part. We're going to have some fun with the next several videos. So if you have any questions, reach out anytime. And as always, I hope this helps. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.